Good afternoon, friends. I'm Chartered Accountant Ankit Jain, and today I'm going to discuss about the Union Budget, which has been just been presented by the Finance Minister, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman, a few minutes back. Uh, the budget 2021, 2020 to 2021 has come at a time which is very critical in the economy. The economy, as we all know, has been going through some challenges, and the finance minister's role today was to take us through those challenges and achieve the full potential of the economy. The finance minister, while making this while presenting the budget today, he realized the fact that we have such a challenge in our hands, and we need to make sure that we are able to uh, grow despite those challenges. And in that focus, it has ensured she has ensured that we are able to achieve uh, the benefit not just to one segment of the society but all of them. She is not just focused on the lower segment of the society. She's not just focused on the upper segment. She knows the fact that it is a combination of the two which will help in realizing the dream of a $5 trillion economy by 2024. The finance minister has laid out proposals for the farmers, for the businesses, for exporters, for MSME sectors, and for even wealth creators. Today, I'll take you through some of the proposals made by the finance ministers in today's budget. So let's get into it. So the most important proposal that today has come up, which is impactful to each and every one of us, is in respect of the direct tax slab rates which have been changed. While there has been no change in the existing slab rate, the finance minister has proposed a new scheme which will be beneficial to a lot of taxpayers. The finance minister says that the current scheme has become too complicated with so many deduction and exemption requiring professionals' help to file a return or to submit their tax compliance. However, now the finance minister has said that in case if a person decides to forego what these tax deductions and exemptions, they will be eligible to take the beneficial tax rates. So the new tax rates which have been proposed is up to the limit of rupees 5 lakh, the tax rates are going to be the same. That is between up to rupees 2.5 lakh rupees, there will be no tax. From 2.5 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees, there will be a tax of 5%. From 5 lakh rupees to 7.5%, there will be a tax rate of 10% instead of the current tax rate of 20%. And from 7.5 lakh rupees to 10 lakh rupees, there will be a tax rate of 15% instead of the current 20%. From 10 lakhs to 12.5 lakh rupees, the tax rate would be 20% instead of the current 30%. And for the tax rate of 12.5 to 15 lakh rupees, it will go to 25%. From 15 lakhs above, the tax rate would be the same at 30% only. Now, this scheme is not uniformly applicable. It is not that they have changed all the tax rates. This scheme is these lower tax rates are eligible only for those assessees who forego some of the tax deductions which are applicable. Some of the tax deductions include interest, housing loan interest. They include LTA in case if your leave travel allowance deductions, other deductions available in the act. So it is not that it is uniformly applicable, and it is that they have removed the deduction. The finance minister has given an option to the taxpayer whether they want to go into this new tax simplified tax regime or they want to continue in the older tax regime. So in a way, it is just a more beneficial scheme which is being introduced to those people who don't have too many deductions to claim. Like for simply said, today there are more than 100 exemptions available in EV, and we are not able to claim all of them. Especially under ATC, if we make an investment in the prescribed instrument, we are eligible to claim a deduction of 1.5 lakh rupees. Then there is, if you invest in the national pension scheme, you have another 50,000 rupees. And if you take all other deductions, if you have housing loan interest, it can go up to, there's another deduction of 2 lakh rupees. So total deduction can go up to 6 lakh rupees for some people. But not everybody has housing loan, not everybody is invested in instruments, and some would prefer just to take the benefit of the lower scheme without making any investment. So it is going to be very individualistic. It is not uniformly that it is going to be better to invest in one scheme, to go for this new scheme or the old scheme. One has to plan his finances, look at his investment options, look at his how he wants to structure it, and then decide how to go about selecting which scheme they should apply for. The next another important change for this MSME sector especially is the fact that the threshold for audit has been increased from rupees 1 lakh to rupees 1 crore to rupees 5 crores. Previously, if a small individual or an HUF which was doing business had a turnover of up to rupees 1 crore, it was exempt from getting its books audited. Now, under the new regime, they can be exempt if their turnover is up to rupees 5 crores. This should bring significant relief to the MSME sector, because a lot of people in the MSME have their running business in their individual names and have to get their books audited from a chartered accountant in case if their turnover exceeds 1 crore rupees. Now the limit has been increased to 5 crore. This should bring substantial relief to the MSME sector, reducing their tax compliance. The next change that has been brought about in the finance bill is the change in respect of dividend taxation. You might know that dividend, in case if you are a shareholder in a company, when a company pays dividend on that tax, they had to deposit a tax of approximately 20% on that dividend which was being paid. But in the hands of the shareholder, this used to be exempt. Now, what used to happen was that for small taxpayers, this used to be an additional cost. So, in case where they were receiving eligible to receive a dividend of 120 rupees, but for some, because of there was a tax being deducted, being applicable on the company's end itself, 20 rupees used to be deposited, and effectively the small shareholder only used to get 20 rupees. Now, if the small shareholder has lower tax slabs, then it will be getting more money in the form of dividend income that they will receive. This should give a big fillip to the stock market and companies who are looking to invest in equity, because dividend income will be a big change. This will also be attractive to foreign companies who have invested in India, because they were not eligible to get credit of the tax that they had, dividend tax which had been deducted in India on such payments. So this will again be a very attractive proposal, not just for individuals in India but also for foreign investors. Another important proposal that the finance minister has extended is the proposal in respect of affordable housing. If you might be aware that there was an additional interest deduction of up to rupees 1.5 lakh rupees if a person had invested in an affordable housing scheme, for an apartment in an affordable housing scheme. This was eligible for only those loans which were sanctioned up to 31st March 2020. The time limit for these sanction of these loans has now been extended by 1 year to 31st March 2021, and accordingly loans up to sanctioned up to 31st March 2021 will be eligible for a deduction of 1.5 lakh rupees more. Another important aspect that the finance minister has covered is in respect of sale of immovable property. You might be aware that if you sell an immovable property at price below the stamp duty value, that is the value which is considered for the as per the circle rate, in that case, if the value is less than 5%, then the difference between the value, stamp duty value, and the actual value, transaction value, was added to the income of the buyer and the seller. This finance minister has increased this threshold from 5% to 10%, which should bring significant relief, given in the current scenario the real estate prices have been a little tied up and stagnant, and this where they have not been able to meet up with the stamp duty rates, especially for difficult and troubled properties or disputed properties. The finance minister also introduced a scheme of instant PAN. If an individual wants to apply for a PAN, usually there was a complete form with a whole IDs and particulars to be submitted. But since now all the particulars of an individual are already embedded in the Aadhaar system. The finance minister has said that in case somebody wants to apply for a PAN through the Aadhaar system, then they would be able to get a PAN instantly, and the PAN would be generated at the click of a button itself. This should be an online procedure which should ease compliance very much, and should be quite helpful for a lot of those people who don't have PAN till date. Another important scheme that the finance minister has brought in to reduce litigation for both the government and for the businesses. During various stages, anytime an assessment is done or anytime there is an audit by the tax department, there are some disputes and litigation. The taxpayer sometimes disputes these demands raised by the tax authorities and goes into appeal, which can be at appeal at the lower levels or can be appeal up to High Court or Supreme Court also. Knowing the fact that there are more than 4 lakh cases pending all across the country, which waste the taxpayers' time and the government's time in administration, the finance minister has come up with this scheme, Vivad Se Vishwas scheme, which is similar to the Sabka Vishwas scheme introduced for the service tax. And under the scheme, in case if there is any demand pending in front of for an SSE, and he has filed any appeal at any level, in that case, the taxpayer can just pay the tax amount, and the interest and penalty would be waived off if the tax amount is paid up to 31st March 2020. So this can be a good scheme to avail in case if anybody has a significant demand or an issue, and if they can get the benefit of waiver of interest and penalty, which itself at many times can be a significant amount and can be a big help to a lot of taxpayers. This can also be helpful for those who have demand on the demonetization issue, and they can just submit make the payment towards the tax amount, and interest and penalty can be waived under that. You might also be aware, in September 2019, the finance minister had proposed that if you set up a new manufacturing company, then you will be eligible to take a lower tax rate, concessional tax rate of 15% instead of the current applicable tax rate of 22 or 25%. If the company is in the business of manufacturing. But this exemption was only for the manufacturing sector and not for any other sector. In this budget, the finance minister has proposed to extend this concessional tax rate of 15% to all those companies also who are into power generation. So any company which is into power generation and setting up a new company for generation of power would be eligible for a tax rate of 15%. The finance minister has also made an exemption for foreign sovereign wealth fund. Foreign sovereign wealth funds are funds of foreign governments who have significant foreign sovereign governments who have amassed significant investments across the world, and to attract them into the Indian market and to lure them into the Indian market, the government has provided a 3-year exemption window for them for all investments made into India in that window. So any foreign sovereign wealth fund which invests into India up till 31st March 2024 will be able to obtain tax holiday on income on such investments up to a period of 3 years from the date of such investment. This should be a big opportunity for all these foreign wealth funds, and we may expect a huge amount of money flowing on from these foreign sovereign wealth funds. Some of these funds include from Singapore, Kuwait, which are huge value and can add a lot of value to our country and economy. On a similar line, the finance minister has proposed to increase the interest rate exemption on interest, TDS on the similar line. The finance minister has proposed to increase the date for reduced TDS on interest paid to non-residents for investment into infrastructure bonds or municipal bonds, and they have kept it at 5% for another 1 year. To accelerate the growth of startups in India, the finance minister had proposed earlier that startups would be exempt from taxation for a period of 7 years. They had defined startups as those entities who had a turnover of up to rupees 25 crores. Given the situation that startups are a very important aspect of this Indian economy and Indian technology and provide a great fillip to the economy, the finance minister has proposed that the limit of 25 crores be increased to rupees 100 crores and the period of 7 years be extended to 10 years. So from 25 crores to, so that now a startup having a turnover of up to 100 crores will be eligible for tax exemption for a period of up to 10 years. The finance minister has also proposed that taxation of ESOP be deferred. ESOPs are equity stock options which are given to employees of technology company primarily, and you under the current system they are taxed when the ESOPs get vested and exercised by the employee. This used to lead to a cash flow situation cash flow problem for the employees who didn't have the cash to pay out the tax amount due at that time. To understand these challenges, the government has said that now, in case any employee exercises ESOP, then he will not have to pay the tax at that time. He can defer the tax up to 5 years, or before he leaves the company, or before he sells the share, whichever is earlier. So the employee now has an option to pay the tax up to 5 years from the date of exercise of option, or before he leaving the company, or before selling those shares. Another important thing that the taxpayer, that finance minister has proposed in this is the taxpayer charter. The taxpayer charter is a commitment which the government wants to give to the taxpayer, that they don't want to harass, they don't want to trouble the taxpayer. They are with the taxpayer. They realize what is the importance of a taxpayer in this country, and they're focusing on how they can improve the efficiency to the taxpayer. The taxpayer will be prepared and issued by the CBDT and later on, and it will provide the commitments which the CBDT makes towards the taxpayer. So friends, these were the key points that we have discussed on the budget today. Apart from these, there are some other issues that the finance minister has taken up. The finance minister has increased the import duty on footwear and furnitures. This should provide fillip to the local industry of footwear and furnitures, and should be able to reduce the competition that they are facing from imports. Another important aspect is in respect of deposit insurance. Now, up till now, if you made a deposit in a bank, it was guaranteed by the government up to rupees 1 lakh only. Now, the amount has been increased from 1 lakh to rupees 5 lakh. So, up to 5 lakh rupees is now being covered, guaranteed by the government. The government has also focused on the issue of pollution, which is plaguing the country quite a lot, and it is allocated rupees 4,000 crores especially to tackle this menace in this current year, and it will focus to make sure that this pollution is lowered and there's improvement in the air quality, which should be beneficial to everyone in this country. The government is also focused on the education sector. They wish to help them push the education level and quality in India to a greater level, and they've set aside 99,300 crore, approximately 1 lakh crore rupees of money for the education sector to improve the education quality in India. And focusing on the similar level, they also want to improve the skilling of the people in India. Skill India program has got an additional outlay of rupees 3,000 crore this year, and this should help improve the challenges where people don't have the necessary skills to find the new jobs. This will help them find new jobs and new opportunities with the right skills in their hand. Friends, Swachh Bharat Mission has also got an allocation of 12,300 crores. The government has set a target of not just ODF, open defecation free. They said ODF plus, that we need to not just be look at building toilets, we need to change the mentality also of the people to use those toilets, and that is what the focus, and the government has set aside 12,300 crores to achieve that objective. So friends, these were the key takeaway points from today's budget speech made by Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman. I'm sure there are a lot of details yet which have to be digged down into paperwork that has come, which will come up right now. We'll prepare more details in this and come back to you with some of them details in as and when the paper comes out.